If you can name the struggle you keep having in your homeschool life, even if you can't quite explain why it keeps happening, you're already halfway to your 1% shift. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot it and who you need to become to change it. I'm Teresa Wiedrick, and if you've started this homeschool year with big goals and you're already feeling behind or overwhelmed, you are in the right place. I'm a graduated homeschool mom turned certified life coach for homeschool moms, and I had my seasons where I white-knuckled my way through our days. I was driven by perfectionism and the pressure to get it all right. Do you relate? Everything changed when I made a small shift, what I call now a 1% pivot. And today I want to show you how tiny intentional changes can move you from pressure to presence without overhauling your entire life. Here's what I know. It's actually really easy to identify where you need a 1% shift when you're having repeated struggles with something. Maybe you're always yelling at the kids, or maybe you feel like you're never on top of things. Maybe you're constantly questioning whether what you're giving your kids is good enough, or if you're really doing enough. Maybe you're frustrated way more than you want to be, or you're feeling pressured way more than you want to. And if you can put words to it, even imperfectly, you can find your pivot. I'll show you how. Here's what I know. A 1% pivot starts in the mind. Not with a new curriculum, not with a better schedule, not with more discipline, or even more patience, and not even with more coffee. Pardon me. It starts with identifying the problem you don't want to feel or experience anymore, the thing that keeps showing up in your days. So let's start there. What's your repeated struggle? Take a second and name it out loud, if you can. And don't overthink it. And don't worry that the kids hear you say it, because they already know. Is it, I'm yelling at my kids way too much? They know. I feel behind on everything all the time. Or I feel so alone in this. Or I'm constantly questioning if I'm doing enough. Or I feel frustrated every day. Or the pressure is crushing me. Whatever it is, that's your starting point. Because once you can name the struggle, you can identify the shift. Now here's where the real work happens. Once you've identified what you don't want to feel or experience, you have to ask yourself a question. Who is the person, or what is the identity of the person who embodies this pivot, who embodies this new mindset? I'll give you a few examples. So if you struggle with, I'm yelling at my kids way too much, then the identity question is, who is the person who doesn't yell? What does she believe about herself? What does she believe about her kids and her homeschool that actually lets her stay calm? Maybe she believes my kid's behavior isn't a reflection of my worth as a mom. I can respond instead of react. Or if your struggle is, I feel like I'm never on top of things, then maybe the identity question is, who is the person who feels in control of her homeschool? What does she believe about what on top of things actually means? Maybe she believes being on top of things means knowing my priorities and protecting them and not doing everything perfectly. If your struggle is, I'm constantly questioning if I'm doing enough, the identity question is, who is the person who trusts herself? What does she believe about what enough looks like? Maybe she believes enough is when my kids are loved and learning and growing, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's homeschool. Do you see what's happening? We're not just trying to stop a struggle. We're identifying who we need to become to naturally live without that struggle. This is your 1% pivot. It's not changing everything about who you are. It's shifting one belief, one identity marker, one way of seeing yourself. The mom who doesn't yell, she sees herself as someone who is in control of her emotions, not controlled by her emotions. The mom who feels on top of things, She sees herself as the authority on what her homeschool needs, not as someone who has to meet external standards or have a perfectly clean home, which she won't. The mom who trusts she's doing enough, she sees herself as the expert on her kids, not as someone who needs validation from curriculum checklists. Here's what you need to understand. You don't become an overnight. You become this person 1% at a time. Today, you practice believing this new thing about yourself 1 time. Tomorrow, maybe 2 times. Next week, it starts to feel a little more natural. That's the shift. Not doing everything perfectly. Not an overnight transformation. Just a tiny pivot in who you believe you are. So here's your practical application step for today. Step 1 is write down your repeated struggle. The thing that keeps showing up. 1 sentence. Step 2 is to ask yourself, who is the person who doesn't have the struggle? What does she believe about herself? Step 3, complete the sentence. I am becoming someone who believes you fill in the blank. Not I am someone who ... because that might not feel true yet. But I am becoming someone who you fill in the blank. That is your 1% pivot. That's the identity shift that you're practicing. Here's an example. A fairly common example, I might add. Way more common than you realize. Okay, so here's the struggle. I yell at my kids every single day. The identity, the person you're becoming, the person who doesn't yell believes she can stay calm even when things are chaotic. So your pivot is I'm becoming someone who believes I can respond calmly even when my kids are dysregulated. That's it. Now you practice believing that today. Just once. Just a 1% pivot. Your homeschool doesn't change because you found the perfect curriculum or the perfect schedule or because you traded in for the perfect kids. It changes because you change. And you change 1% at a time. Name your struggle. Identify who you're becoming. Practice believing it today. That's your reset. That's your shift. And it starts right now. Now, if you did this exercise and you're thinking, okay, Teresa, I can see my struggle and I can see who I need to become, but I might actually need help making this shift stick, then I invite you to the Homeschool Reset workshop happening live this Friday, January 30th. It's a 2-hour deep dive where we'll identify your exact pressure points, practice the tools to shift them in real time, and create your personal action plan. The link is in the description if you'd like to join us, or you can also type reset in the comments and I'll make sure to grab it for you. I'm limiting this to 8 women. I'm keeping it under just 8 women so we can go deep together. But whether you join the workshop or not, I want to see your I am becoming statements in the comments section. Drop it below. I want to see what you're working on. And if you want more quick, practical mindset shifts like this one, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss them. I'll see you in the next video. I'll see you next week.